G'day viewers, time for another video. Thanks for coming back. One of my viewers, Alberto I think his name is, or Angelo, has asked me to do some IC chips or BGA chips and show him how to get the silver. I mean, I know what to do, but I don't normally chase the silver. I normally just get the gold, and if any silver turns up, it's good. But however, I am in the process of doing, making a silver cell, a electrolytic silver cell. So yeah, I need some silver, and it just happens that I've got a mountain of IC chips here. I've got, anyone who knows from my past videos would see that I depopulate my boards with my heat gun. I've already got a tub full that I've just been doing. I've got some boards down here with lots of IC chips on them. Loads and loads of IC chips. And over there, that tub full, which I have to go through. I've already done 3 times that many. I've got a container here full. That's a pretty big container. It's probably about 4 kilos. And then I've started filling up another container here, plus what's in there, plus what's there. So I've got a lot of IC chips. So I can't hold the camera and depopulate. Don't have my tripod, don't have anyone to hold the camera. If you want to see how that's done, if you don't know, just go back to one of my other videos, how do I depopulate boards. For now, I'll just carry on with this, and when I'm ready to get them into a tin, I'll show you what I do there. This is the tin that I use to pyrolyze my chips. It's a baby milk formula tin. A coffee tin works just as well. These don't have a tin lid, unfortunately, so I find a lid from a coffee tin fits quite nicely on top. Doesn't sit in there like you would normally think. Doesn't go in the hole properly, but it does stop ash from the fire getting in here. It just sits on like that, keeps the ash out. And the reason why there's holes is because some of these chips are plastic. I'm only going to do ceramic ones today, but there are some on here, if I can quickly find one, like this one. You see how shiny they are, they're plastic. You see that shine? And I'm not a greenie, but I don't want, harmful pollution getting in the air. So what happens is, when they burn, the plastic vapors and fumes and smoke, or whatever you want to call it, comes out of these holes and is then reconsumed by the fire. I stoke the fire right up high around the tin and then over the top of the tin, because I fill this to the top. So I want to make sure it's all really, really hot everywhere. And like I said, the fumes come out around these holes and get reconsumed by the fire. Just to do my bit, make sure I'm not polluting the atmosphere for those who are concerned about it. But today we're just going to go with this. I've got a big pile, as you can see, but I've selected these ones so far. All this stuff here is all from old computers. I managed to get a good bunch of old computers together. And some of them have got really long legs on them on the side, and they're quite decent size. There's some real monsters in there. But I've gone for a variation of old and new. So I've gone for some of these old ones, and then some of the newer ones, some of the smaller ones, some of these square ones, a bit of everything. And I've got a feeling that's not going to be even close to filling the tin. So once I've put those in, these things here, they come out of a square section of plastic with pins all around the outside. I don't know what these are for. There's also some tiny ones here, if I can get it. I'm trying to look through the camera, hang on. These ones here were like RAM IC chips. They were stuck on RAM sticks, and the first time I've ever seen RAM IC. Normally they're RAM BGA, but these were stuck on like that, 4 or 5 to a chip. So these are pretty old, some pretty new stuff in there as well. When I put these into the tin, if there's any room, I'll fish through there and get some more ceramic ones out. The same deal would be for the plastic. There's no difference between the plastic and the ceramic. The only difference I can understand is that you want these to be pyrolyzed until the ceramic is white. And I mean white. Like as if you had just burnt that one. That's how white you want them. This is a white chip of some white sticker on top. But that's what they want them to look like when they come out. Whereas the plastic ones won't ever do that. I'll show you. I've got some plastic ones here, which I've just finished pyrolyzing. See how they stay black? It's because plastic doesn't go white, you know. So basically, when I do them, I like to do all ceramic or all plastic. That way you know when they're finished. If you have some that are white and some that aren't, and you've got a mixture in there, you're not going to know whether or not they're finished. If you've got all ceramic and some of them aren't white, then you know you've got to go longer. If you've got all plastic, then they're all black, that's fine, and so on. So I just find it easier if I do all ceramic and all plastic in separate things. But technically, they're exactly the same. I just like to go by the colour, so I know when they're finished. If you're doing ceramic and they're not white, then you've got to keep going. You can't do them, even if you can crush them up and all the rest of it when they're cooked, they're still going to have carbon which can trap gold. So with the ceramic ones, you want them white, white, white. I cannot stress that enough. If there's any dark spots, separate the ones that are white and put the rest back on the fire, even if you add them to the next batch or something like that. I kid you not, they have to look like this when they come out. You want them to be white like that. So anyway, I'm going to put those into here. If there's any room, I'll fish through here and get some more ceramic chips out until I fill it up. And I'll just set the lid on top and I'll put it in my little barbecue, start a fire, and I'll let you know when I get to that point. Okay, so I've got it in the tin. Tin's full. Here in Australia, because it's such a dry country, we've got strict rules on burning off. I can't have an incinerator. I can't go out in the backyard and just make a small campfire. It's just not worth the risk getting a fine. But as far as I know, in a barbecue, they can't do anything about it. So technically, this is a little Weber barbecue. And I'm going to want this thing raging. I'm going to want it as hot as I can get it. I'll be stoking it up and keeping it going for ages. So it's going to be noticeable. Otherwise, if it was just a small little fire, it probably wouldn't make a difference. But I've got it on paving, so there's nothing can catch fire. I've got water hose nearby in case it plays up. Now, what you could do, if you're in a position to, is to have a steel pipe, feeding into the fire, and then far enough away you can, on the other end of the steel pipe, you could have a hairdryer feeding oxygen into the fire to make it even hotter. If you've seen earlier in my videos, I've got one where I made a homemade furnace and I have a steel pipe feeding into it with a gas burner, or I use a hairdryer. Either way, I can either use gas or heat beads with a hairdryer. At the present moment, my hairdryer packed up and I don't have any gas in my gas bottle. Otherwise I would pyrolyze them in my furnace. So this is all I can do for now. I'll be stoking this up and keeping it burning for at least 3 or 4 hours. The good thing about the lid not fitting on tight is that I can, after the fire's burnt down, I can just check them, make sure that if they're white, I can stop. If they're not, then I'll just keep going and keep stoking the fire until all those chips are white. I don't want bits and pieces of black and bits and pieces of white. They've got to be all white. Another option that some people would do prior to burning them is soaking them in hydrochloric acid first to get any solder off the legs. And that's probably the right way to do it. I'm just showing you how I do it. I will be soaking everything in hydrochloric acid after the fire. I don't suppose it makes a whole lot of difference. Some people may say I'm doing it wrong. Well, this is just showing you how I do it. If someone wants to do it a different way, well, then more power to them. I'm not saying this is the correct way or this is the only way. I'm just showing the person who wanted to see me do some ICs. I'm doing them how I do them, and so anyway, I just thought I'd get that out of the way before any critics go, oh, there's a better way. There probably is. Probably several ways. Anyway, I'll get this started and come back to you. Okay, so it's night time and it's been burning for 3 or 4 hours. I was almost going to put the last of a 10 kilo bag of firewood in. I thought I'd just check them, and as you can see, they're all glowing white. So what I'm going to do is just let it die out. I'm not going to put any more wood on. I'll just push the last of this wood in, and when it dies out, it dies out. And that'll be it for the night. I'll sort these out tomorrow. I'm just pushing all that last bit of wood up against the tin because I want it as hot as possible at the tin. And that's it. So yeah, just let it go out on its own accord, just to make sure that everyone that's inside the centre and all the bottom and everything inside will all be done as well. When I'm processing it tomorrow, I can always find some, if there's any that aren't white, I can just put them aside, but I'd say they're probably all done. So we'll have a look tomorrow. Alright, so here's the chips, and they're all white. Some of them is just dust on top, and when you wipe them they appear to be black underneath. That happens quite a lot, and they're probably still okay. I have a tin in the fire at the moment of this exact same thing. What I've done is I've smashed them up as much as I can into small pieces and put them back in the fire just to make sure they're done. I have tried just processing them after they look like this, as well as some that are completely white. And see this one here, if I can get it out, it just crumbles. I'll try and get it because I really want you to see it. It's just white and it just smashes up. Really want to get you out. There we go. All the way through, it's white and it just falls apart. That's how they've got to be. I have tried processing some like this, and some that were still dark. They had the white ash on them, but I haven't noticed a huge difference. But I still like to do it properly. So this one, among however many others that look like this, will go back in the fire. All the ones that stay white will be fine. See, there's another one that's dark in the middle, and no matter how much I wipe it, the outside stays white. I would say that that's mostly done. So you can see the white around the outside, black in the centre. That will go back into the fire after I've smashed it all up and get the white stuff off. Basically, I crush it up in the crusher, and what doesn't crush into dust goes back in the fire, and the dust gets separated separately because that'll be ready. A lot of this white stuff will be ready. The chunks, the black chunks that I pick out, will go into another container. They'll go back in the fire a second time. There should be a lot of these that are finished. This one you can see is all white on the ends, but inside, we'll see what it looks like inside if I can just break it one-handed. Black in the center with the gold, you can see. The focus isn't all that special, but white around the outside. And these are right in the center, so the ones on the outside of the tin are most likely going to be more done. You see this just crumbles apart because that was on the outside, and what's in the middle is the metal. There's all the legs, etc. So this one's finished. I'll be picking through them. There is a little bit of black underneath, as I've just noticed, but mostly all done. So I'll just pick out the dark black bits, put them separate. Now the main reason why I said I put HCl afterwards instead of before to remove the tin is because I find the tin deteriorates and flakes, and bits and pieces of tin end up in this mix anyway. As you can see, there's a big piece of this whole black section fell onto here. I tried to pick it up a minute ago and it all just crumbled and fell into the mix. So there's lots of tin that flakes off. You see there? So I don't see the point in treating it for tin early in the piece and then having tin go back into it. That's why I prefer to wait until after I've burnt them and crushed them, and then treat it with HCl in case any of this tin is mixed in with the solution. The tins only last 2 or 3 times and you can see it's already starting to fall apart. I'm trying to do that without much. See, it's just crumbling. See? So it doesn't take a lot. 3 or 4 burns. I think that tin's had 4 burns. It'll probably do 1 more if I don't keep poking my finger through it. And then I need to switch tins. I've got a brand new tin on the fire outside, which is doing all the black stuff that didn't completely burn, just to make sure that they're done. There's no point in rushing it. There's no point in just throwing it all together and saying, bugger it, that'll do. Like I said before, this isn't a hobby for people with no patience. You have to be prepared to let things take their course. They'll be done when they're done. No point in rushing it. So now I've got to tip this into a container, inspect them better. There's a big chunk of tin that fell on the carpet. This came off the lid. See? That was part of that section there. There's another piece here. So I'll put these into a container, sort them out better, and then I'll put them into my dolly pot, which I'll crush up. Now this dolly pot is twice the height of any dolly pots that I've seen in the shop. This is quite tall. Very rarely, if anything, it all comes out the top. So to date I've never needed eyewear. If I had ones that you get from the shop, they're about this high and things can fly out all the time. I've never even been close to needing eyewear. I've even worn it just for the sake of it. I've done this many times, and only just the last few times I've thought, oh, it's not necessary. Even though I'm safety first, it's just something I don't need. I don't need gloves. I'm not doing any chemical work just yet. But what I do have is a face guard thing. I don't need the full respirator, but at the same time I don't want to breathe any ceramic dust. So just a little bit of precaution. I'll just breathe through this, just in case any ceramic dust does move around. I don't want to breathe that in. So now I'll show you what it looks like when I've tipped it into a container. Trying to do this one-handed. My camera person isn't here today. A lot of these look like they're not done. That may be as a result of overpacking the tin, I would imagine. Maybe not enough airflow around the chips. I don't know. You see a lot of them go white, but they're not quite done. Maybe it's the size of the chips. I don't know. I usually get a lot more white out of it than what I have. A lot of dark ones that don't even look like they've started to go white. So, not as good as I would have hoped. Like I said before, I will just pulverize them. This one looked mostly okay. I'll pulverise them, and any dust will be separated from the chunks that don't smash up, and the ones that don't smash up will go back into the fire again. See, that one broke easy, but it's still black in the centre. This one here is done. It just deteriorates in my hand, and anything that's inside is the metal, but there's a bit of black on top. So I only want the black stuff like this here. I will separate this. I'll put this in another container, and then we're back to you when that's done. Alright, so I've picked through the container all the white ones here, and the ones that are partially done or not done at all are in here. 2/3 of them weren't done, 1/3 were, plus I've already got some down in my barrel. Some of them are so well done, they're just all white and crumbly, and anything that's inside is the metal, which is all the legs, etc. So that's how they want to be. That's how they don't want to be. And I'm not very happy with this outcome at all. I've never had this bad outcome before. So what I'm going to start doing in future, I've never used big tins like this. I normally use a smaller tin. I was given a whole pile of baby tin formula tins, and so that's why I'm using them. But I'm learning from that mistake that I won't fill them to the top in future. I thought I'd maximise all the space and the burning of the wood, etc. But clearly it's not getting the heat all the way through. So in future I'm going to not fill the tin, and each time the fire's burnt down before I restoke it, I'm going to grab a pair of pliers or something, pick up the tin and shake it, so that everything moves around inside the tin, because I'm clearly getting hot spots where some parts are really well done and then some parts aren't even touched. So we all learn a lesson. We learn things all the time. I now know to say half fill it, maybe 3/4 at best, so that I've got room in there for them to move when I shake it, and not pack them tight. I've been packing them in there so I can't get any more in. Not again. So now I won't put too many in here at a time. They just, see the weight of this, I'm not even pushing down on it, the weight of it just crumbles them. It's crazy how good this is. This is a very heavy truck axle, and I've just used a big piece of round cylinder that I had from somewhere, welded a handle onto it. A bit rude looking, but it's doing the job. And I can't hold the camera and crush these at the same time, so I will crush them, and then the next step will be to put it into a sieve, which I have here, and to sieve out any of the small stuff, all the dust that will go through. The bits of metal and unburnt chips will stay in there, and then I can separate it, put the black chunks that aren't burnt into another pile, all the legs and metal into another pile, because they'll be processed differently to the dust. Well, not so much differently, but if you do it all in one hit, it's a lot harder to do because you got all the dust and everything, and if you separate the metals, most of that gets consumed by nitric acid, and you're not really left with a lot of waste, whereas the dust, you've got the dust residue at the end of it, and I just find it easier to separate. So I'll get to that stage, I'll smash some up, and then when I put it through here, I'll be back and show you what the next step is. 9.
To hold it and record it.
Okay, if it's all done properly, and if the chips were burnt properly, you should mostly end up with just dust and metal. Probably tiny little bits of chips, but mostly just metal. So That's just all pins. And the bits that were inside the chips, the metal. There's hardly any ceramic left on these, if any at all. So that's a good mix. That shows that they're done well. It's just all metal. So that'll go in a separate dish. And then under there is all the dust. I know it looks black considering it started off white, but that's just how they go. You saw the white powder all falling apart in my hands. I've only done the really good ones. The ones that are partially done are still in that red tub. Oh, not the red tub, sorry, this one here. The red one is the ones I'm doing. So I'll put these into another tub. That can get separated later. Not separated, that can be treated later. And I'll put these in the dolly pot and crush these two. Now you can see that the dust kind of comes out white. By the time I sieve it, it may all look black inside, but I've just poured it straight out of the thing, and you can see that it's all kind of white. And there's some here that didn't crash, didn't break up, so they go aside. I've got to pick through this. I'll sieve it first, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've sieved it, and it appears that there are some that aren't done, but that might just be, I may have put too many in the dolly pot. Although they don't look like they're ready, so either way I'll pick them out. But they might have just been underneath all the dust and weren't able to be crushed. Just for safety's sake, I'll put them aside. And there's probably a few that slipped through the mix here. All the part that broke off was most likely white, and this is the part that wasn't burnt properly. So, but given the fact that some of these wouldn't have crushed simply because they were down the bottom underneath all the dust, you see the gold in there. I'll put these aside, and I'll just re-crush all this stuff here, and it should break up a lot of it. Now that I've moved all the bigger stuff and the dust out, a lot of this should crush easily. Whatever doesn't crush the second time round should hopefully, just like last time, be all wire and metal. There shouldn't be any chips at all, if any, and there might be just the tiniest little bit, but you can see how well it's come up. A lot of these were ready. So I'm pretty sure that most of the dust is now through, and most of this is all metal. There's occasionally tiny little bits of chip, but overall I'm happy with that. A lot of that's all metal. Wires and things like that. So now that can all go aside as well. And any little bits of circuit chip in there I'm not worried about. That's completely fine. Yeah, the acid will make its way through that tiny, the little tiny little bits that I've chipped there. The acid will get in there, no worries at all. There's no carbon as much that I would worry about. It's the carbon more you've got to be concerned of. And yeah, I'm more than happy with the way that's turned out. I just wish the whole lot was like that. I'm really disappointed how some of them didn't burn. But it's pretty good. So I'll tip this into here with the rest of them. Getting it all over the floor. And those will go into HCl first, then nitric, and so will this, but all different. You can see there's lots of white ash in there and little bits of pins and stuff, but it's all dust stuff that made it through the sieve. So it'll all be treated the same way, but just different batches. Okay, so I've put the ones that weren't burnt properly back in the tin, and as you can see, it's about half full. So this is going to be good because I can just grab hold of the side with a pair of channel locks or multi-grips and just shake it after each time the fire's gone down and needs to be stoked up, and just make sure that they're all turned over and moved around in there and no hot spots or cold spots, etc. The next time I pull these out, they should be perfectly done. So it's night time now. I'll put these back on the fire again tomorrow and have these sorted by tomorrow night. So what I've done is I've transferred the ash into this larger bowl, and I know you guys have probably seen this on one of my other videos, but I used the blue bowl to sort most of the dust out. And I know not everyone has a blue bowl, so this way I'm going to do it the long way, and you just can all do it this way because I'm sure everyone's got a bowl of some sort they can use. So this at the moment is very hydrophobic, meaning it doesn't like water. If I try and wash away most of the ash at the moment, I'm going to probably lose half of everything. So I'm going to put a little bit of water in and make it into a paste, and just keep stirring it until it's a paste, and that way a lot of it's not going to see how it's all floating on the surface. I need to keep working it until that doesn't happen. It won't take long, just needs a bit of convincing. You could put some dishwashing liquid in there if you wanted to break the surface tension. I may do that in a second if I need to. Just get all the stuff off the side. I'm just working it all in so that it all absorbs the water. I think I will put just a drop of dishwashing liquid in. You don't want much because you don't want it to bubble up. Just put a drop, ever so slight. That's it. You can even see it's spreading across the surface now. Well, I can see it. I don't know if you can or not. See it stopping it from floating. A lot of it's all now started to sink. Might just put a touch more. Perfect. See, a lot of it's all gone now. There's nothing dry floating on the surface. Just keep working all that stuff off the side. So I know that it's all mixed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour water in till it's almost to the top, stir it all up, and then let it settle. Now you have to let it settle for a bit because, I mean, the gold will drop straight away. That's the heaviest thing in there. I don't know how fast the silver will drop, but I just want to make sure that all that's on the top here is liquid. Just a few minutes, seconds is all you need, and I'm going to pour it out, but I'm not going to pour it to the point where all the sediment starts coming out. Even if I only go like halfway, you're better to do lots of small washes than risk losing any of the sediment. I'll just keep filling it up and doing that. Just let it sit. Might even just give it a bit of a stir, make sure that all the stuff on the bottom has got dust out of it. Let it sit just for a second. I'm just pouring off ash, just the fine ceramic ash. No metal content. I don't want to go too far, so that'll do, and I'll just keep doing that. Mix up all the bottom, let it sit. Eventually what will happen is you'll see us have clear water, clearish, it'll still be a little bit of black in it, but it'll be clearer, and just the sediment on the bottom. all I should be pouring off is ceramic ash. Anything heavy, any kind of metal at all, should be staying down the bottom. I can already, I don't know if you can see on the video, but I can already see the water starting to clear up a little bit. And it gets a bit monotonous, which is why I normally use the blue bowl. But like I said, not everyone has a blue bowl. So just set it up for a bit, make sure everything's dropped. I can even see, as it's pouring over the white lid there, I can see that I can still see the white through it. When I started, it was that black, I couldn't see it. So I know that it's starting to clear up. And there's the sediment. And this water is still a bit black, so I'll keep going. When you can see clear water here, or clearish, then you know that you've done enough. You see fine dust, which is what I want, just going over the edge. There's the sediment and the water is almost clear. And for those who are wondering, it's not going to hurt the sink. It's only ash. It'll wash away. Now I can see the water's clear. I can see the sediment, and down there I can see the water's clear. You can see the bowl. Can you see that on the camera? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're done. So now it's just a matter of putting this into the acid. And I know that I'm not going to be choking up filters full of ash. All done. That's all we got to do.
Go.
So then I'm going to put all this into a beaker. It doesn't matter that there's a bit of water in there because we're going to need dilute acids anyway. And we're not working for silver yet, so we don't need to worry about using distilled water at this stage. Okay, there's dust in there still. So I'm just going to put some hydrochloric acid in. Doesn't need to be very much. And I'm just trying to make sure there's no tin that was in the solution. You're not going to find much in this dust. It's more the solids that are going to have it in it. But for the sake of it, just in case any of it was ground up, that should sort that problem out pretty quick. And I'll put it on heat and just boil it for a little while, maybe for half an hour or so.
Okay.
Okay, so I've put it on heat and I've just got it on low for now. I'm just going to simmer it for half an hour or so, because the acids will work better when they're warm or hot. And then just rinse it off. And then I'll have to thoroughly clean it and make sure that every scrap of hydrochloric acid is away from there before we put nitric in. So I've put the coarse material into a beaker, and I'm going to pour some hydrochloric acid in that as well. Now I'll mix a bit of water with it because I don't have much hydrochloric left. You can see that's already starting to do something, which is good. I ended up just using straight hydrochloric acid, and you can see there's a reaction. So I'll be dissolving any silver that's in it, not silver, any tin that's in the solder, and it won't need long, half an hour at the most. I'll take the other one off heat and put this on heat in about half an hour, give this a shot, and then I'll strain them both and wash them both. Okay, so I've strained out the fine sediment. This is the best thing I've ever made. It's just a brewer's bag. The mesh is so fine that only the liquid can go through. It catches everything. This is amazing. I'll show you when I squirt it with water. It just absorbs straight through, comes out the bottom. Nothing sort of gets held in this at all. So I've already been rinsing this about 4 or 5 times, waiting for the kettle to boil. I'm going to put some boiling hot water over it, a full kettle full. I've already also rinsed the coarse material, made sure that all the hydrochloric acid is off that as well. That's already in nitric acid. As you can see, the fumes, all the coarse material. And once this has been washed with hot water, I'm also going to put this into a beaker with nitric acid. From there we should be able to get any silver that was in it. I'll let you know when we get to that stage. This is the fine material and this is the coarse material. They've been soaking in nitric acid on heat for quite a while now. Not on heat for a long time, but they've had about an hour's heat, and they've been in solution for a few days now, so there wouldn't be anything more to dissolve. I've tried adding a little bit more nitric acid to see if there was any more reaction, and there's not, so it's all finished. So now it's a case of filtering, and I'm going to filter it all together. I'll put the coarse and the fine together because it doesn't matter from now on. This is the best thing I've ever made. I love it. Well, that's fairly fine, so I must have mixed them up, the other ones of course. Alright, I've got to do this two-handed, so I've got to get the spray bottle and spray this out. Alright, so I've managed to strain it all, and there's the blue liquid there. I've put the solids into aqua regia. Since this video is mostly about silver, I will show you the gold, but I'm going to concentrate on this solution now. So I'm going to have to filter it with a proper filter to catch all the fine sediment, and hopefully it won't be so cloudy, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I've finished burning these. I don't know if you can see too well in there, but they're all nice and white now. So I'll finish crushing those up and put those with the rest of the waste. And this tin's finally had its day. I think this will be the last burn for this tin. You can see right through the bottom of it. So if there's any black ones in there now, that's going to be fine, because it's been through 2 lots of burn. Only if they won't actually crush, I'll put them aside. If they do crush, they'll be fine. As each time the fire went down, I grabbed the pliers and I gave the tin a good shake like that, and got it to all move around in there, so there was definitely no hot spots or cold spots. Right, so I'll go and crush them now, and I'll soak those in nitric, and then I'll add those to the rest of the stuff that's in AR. The liquid from the nitric I'll combine with the things I'm dissolving now. See, I've got the filter filtering that dark blue stuff that's coming out nice and clean, and once it's done that, I can put the get the silver out of it, which is what the main part of this video is for, is getting the silver out. So we'll move to that step when they're ready. Well, I've crushed up all the rest of that stuff that I burnt. You see it crushed up nicely, and you can tell it's got a white tinge to it. So it's not dark grey. So now I'll go and put that in the nitric and catch up with the rest of the process. Okay, so what I've done is I've had the wash water from the nitric acid has been sitting in a jar now for a week or so, and I put some, it was nice and blue, I put some hydrochloric acid in to drop any silver, which is why it's turned green, and you can see on the bottom the silver that's dropped. I don't know if you can see up underneath, some of it's a bit dark, some of it's white.
Yeah.
And it's been sitting long enough now, I can still see, if I turn it, white bits that are moving. So they're in there in suspension and they're not dropping. So all I can do now is filter it. I've got a large, it's dirty, but a large, I'll move this off here. Large flask, and I'll put funnel on top and a filter, and I'll filter out that solution to get all the silver, and any gold that I did get is in solution and under here in the AR. I haven't dropped that yet because I've got other solutions that I'm going to add to, and since this video is mainly about the silver, I thought it would be alright just to not drop that gold on its own. It's a waste of acid just to use one lot when I've got 3 or 4 lots on the go. So I'm going to add the gold to that. It's kind of like refining it at the same time, because I'll get the gold powder from these, add it to that, redissolve it. Alright, so I'll start filtering to catch any of that silver that's in suspension. And because it's just clear liquid, there's nothing really in there to slow the filter down. It should go fairly quickly. Like it's draining through as I'm pouring it in, which is good. Now I'm handling it careful. I'm trying not to stir up the silver on the bottom. I'm trying to leave what has settled on the bottom. You can see it's all bunched up now from me tipping it. And I'm just trying not to do it too roughly. Any of the little white flakes that were in suspension should hopefully get caught in the filter here. And then this solution will end up in my stock pot, and I'll put the silver, all the silver into there, and I'll just melt it and melt it into shot so I can put it through my electrolytic silver cell. So this will take a few minutes. I won't have it videoing for 10-15 minutes or something. I'll just pause it for now and I'll come back when I'm nearly finished. Okay, so as you can see, I've poured out all the green solution and we've got the silver left again. Now I'm going to give it a wash, just boiling hot water. Let that settle, and then I'll pour the water off and give it another wash. Keep doing that until there's no green water coming out of it. And then I could dry it as powder, but I'm just going to collect it in a filter and melt it into shot. Alright, so I've washed the water, the silver several times. It's still got a bit of blue in there, but that's okay, because the silver's going to go through my silver analytic electrocell anyway. I've got a filter here which already has a bit of silver in it. It's not much, but I like to reuse things where I can, no point in wasting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour all this into this filter. To catch the silver, and then I'm going to put the silver into a melt dish and melt it into shot. I'll let you know when that's done. Okay, so there's the silver, which is dried in the filter. I was going to melt it down and show you the yield, but the thing I'm fighting in my head with is I've got other silver filters in there, as well as some silver here which I've put in the oven just to burn away the paper, and I'd really like to do it all in one hit. Save time, save money on gas for my torch, etc. So what I'll do is I'll just weigh this and give you a rough idea of the yield. And the same with the gold that I collected. I've put into solution here, along with gold from several other ones like this one here. I'm dropping the gold out of these, and I'm going to put the powder from there into there and refine it all at once, which is going to save me a lot of money on acid. There's more silver there collected, so I've got a lot of silver to put together. I really don't want to just melt that one lot, so I'll take this inside and I'll weigh it and show you what the yield is, and then that'll be it for this video. Okay, so I'll try and show you this one-handed. Let's see if I can pop the phone up somewhere. That moves around. I could have taken that chunk out by itself, but there's still a lot more silver in the filter anyway. So I'll leave it all there. I'll fold the filter up so it fits on the scales. I don't know how accurate this is going to be, but it'll give you some idea of the yield. So I'll put it on my brand new scales. Thanks to Nadine who bought these for me. 16 grams, 16.5 grams. I've never actually, and I will in the future, do a video to show the difference between weighing a powder and then weighing when it's well melted. Same with gold. I don't know whether that's exactly what it's going to be or roughly, so that's an upcoming video. But for now, thanks for watching. One other thing I wanted to show you before I go. For those who don't actually know what it looks like inside an IC chip, I've got this one here, which has gold brazing inside with the circuit chip, and where each of the legs join the circuit chip, you can see the wire. The phone doesn't want to focus, but there's a, see if I can choose a close-up, there we go. There's little wires, fine wires that join the chips to the legs. They're gold as well. So not only have you got the gold brazing, but there's fine gold wires going from each leg to the circuit die. And then other ones, like this one, no, that's gold. I've got one here somewhere which is silver. I want to find it and show you. I think this one's it. No, that's gold. I don't know where I put it. I had one that was silver. I've got a collection here which I'm looking through. I've been cutting the legs off them. But I had one that was silver in the middle. Unless I just couldn't see it properly. Now that it's on the camera I can see it enlarged. But some of them would have silver, some of them would have gold. Maybe around the outside of the gold area is silver, where there's a little bit of gold and then silver there. Some of these have got a lot of gold, like this one. But can you see those wires? Those fine wires there that join the legs to the circuit die. So that's what all of these look like. I'm actually picking through these now, cutting off the legs. and the ceramic part breaks as I'm doing it, which is what's allowing me to see inside them like that. I'm not real keen on taking all these legs off because it's ruining the wires. I'm only trying to cut them off along the edge, but they're breaking all the ceramic and the legs are coming out. And I don't know if I'll keep going. I might just leave them as they are. But what I'm thinking is I'm going through so much acid, dissolving all the steel, and if I was to be able to take the legs off and just keep the middle part, I'd save on acid. See, all these legs, these are all consuming nitric acid. Nitric acid isn't cheap. So I'm trying to save money, but I'm costing myself money. But at the same time, I think by destroying these little wires that would have been going to each leg. So, and while I'm on the topic of the cost of acid, I really want to thank my viewer Alberto, who has contributed to my channel and enabled me to go and buy the nitric acid that I needed to make this video. So thank you so much, Alberto. And it's people like him who help me make bigger and better videos. This video would not have been possible until I could afford to make more if it wasn't for Alberto. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching. Please comment, tell me what you think of it. If you like what I'm doing, if you don't like what I'm doing, tell me so I know. If there's something you want to see, let me know. If you like my videos, please like them, share them, subscribe. I need all the subscribers I can get, and I'm way behind. Most of the people doing these videos have thousands or tens of thousands of subscribers. I'm still in the hundreds. So please help me out. And I want to make videos that you guys want to see. So if there's anything you want to see, I don't deal with palladium or platinum, or I only do gold and silver at this stage anyway. Let me know and I'll try and make a video for you. This one here is, like I said before, is what Alberto wanted to see. And I hope that I've shown him what he wanted to see in this video. And I hope you'll all be back for the future ones. If you hit the little bell icon, you'll be notified when I post more videos. Thank you everybody. Enjoy your day. Bye.